What's going on, Trophy Kids? We have got an awesome one here for you. We are betting every NFL game this week. We're once again going through every NFL game and giving our picks, but I am betting every single one, giving my gambling opinions here. It's a great episode. You're not going to want to miss this one. Let's go. And welcome to Trophy Kids, presented by Bad News Media. It is September 24th. And the football gods still hate me. I can't make up the way I lost that game last night. I had the Steelers publicly on the straight against the spread line. I also had them in a private teaser bet of 4 teams. And of course they lose that. Mike Tomlin plays not to lose instead of not to win. It's an absolute pitiful game. And the weekend is off to a hot start. How are we doing today, good sir?
I am fantastic. Yep, you're right. It was a pretty pitiful game watching those two very average quarterbacks go back and forth. Ooh.
I've never seen, I shouldn't say I never, because I'm sure I have, but Mitch Trubisky makes everything look so difficult. Like even good plays, you're just like, man, that felt like it took every ounce of energy to make that a good play. It's slugging through the mud, which I knew going into it. That's half the reason I bet the Steelers. I was like, there's no way this is a high scoring fair game. So I'll take a number outside of 3. Perfect. I'll tease it up to 10 in a 14 teaser. And then of course, disaster strikes with like 30 seconds left.
Mitch, he's funny. He's a funny quarterback because it's like he's athletic. He's certainly athletic, but when he runs, and he runs pretty fast, it looks like he's running on like a balance beam. Like he's like leaning over to the right and leaning to the left. But I mean, he's like making plays with his feet. But yeah, I mean, he's just so average.
Also, can we talk about Mike Tomlin? What was that end of the game field goal? It's 4th and 5. So it's really like 5.5 yards or something, because they get 12 men on the field, a 5-yard penalty. It's not first down. So it would have been 4th and inches, and you still decide to kick. Why? Like, I get like, well, it's a 2-score game anyway, so you got to get the onside kick. I'm on the mindset, like, yeah, go for it. That's such more a mentality boost of like, we got this. Then you go down and you score, you just drove the length of the field. You still got to kick the onside kick, but then you're at least down 3. If you recover it, you don't have to then go get a touchdown. You can kick a field goal. You'll be in great position to do so if you recover the onside kick. I don't understand the mindset of coaches who do this nonsense.
I didn't get it either. And it's kind of surprising to see coming from Mike Tomlin. I was like, strange.
Yeah, that whole game, this year has been weird. Now, we did say we got to give ourselves credit that this was going to be the year that if you wanted to fade Mike Tomlin, you do it, because he is a coach that, as everybody knows at this point, has never had a season below 500. We both said, man, it's going to take a hell of a coaching effort to get them to 500 or above this season. And it looks like he is just nosedive bombing, because after his press conference, now it may have been a head fake, because he's a good coach that likes to keep things in the locker room. And maybe it's a mentality thing where he's like, I'm not discussing QB changes. The strategy was good. Matt Canada's fine, offensive coordinator. Maybe some things changed privately in the locker room leading up to the game. But I was a little shocked about 1, in-game decisions, and then 2, just completely shutting down all that talk. Do you actually buy into the fact that they are not actively considering Kenny Pickett at this point in the season?
I hope not. I mean, they should. Why not? I mean, what is Mitch bringing you that Kenny can't do? I don't think there's much.
Yeah, and at this point, I think you've shown Kenny's got weapons. Pickens is just a dog out. That catch, one of the all-time catches in the NFL.
Oh my God.
Oh,
that was awesome.
God. I mean, he was doing stuff like that in college, but to do that at the next level is woo. So you got a good wide receiving core. The offensive line's been all right. Running back's been okay. Also, Harris with a crazy chop block in that game, picking up the blitz. I'm with you. I think at this point, you might as well throw Kenny Pickett. He's got a couple extra weeks where he got to learn the playbook and get into that. I think at this point, you just got to throw caution to the wind and say, let's go, kid. Like, you're our future of the franchise. Let's go find out.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's talk about a team in a game that has a team probably debating whether this is the guy or not. And that is the Patriots versus the Ravens. Line is set at 2.5. Over under is at 45.5. Before we break down the game, I think there's a fun little debate going around the internet of whether Mac Jones is the guy. Do you think Mac Jones is the guy? Because I have a theory as to why we are struggling with this, but I'll let you go first.
Is he? It's tough to say. I mean, it really is. I mean, I want him to have slightly better weapons. I could see what happens. I mean, Nelson Aguilar, he can, make plays, and Devontae Parker, and he has some running backs. I'd like to see him have a little more help before I can make that decision. I'm leaning towards like long-term 12-year answer. Probably not, unfortunately.
So I'm kind of with you. I'm on the more probably not. There seems to be a lot within the Patriots fan base that are firm, no, he's the guy, which I get. You want you to be your quarterback, but as other fan bases are well firm, like we are much more cautious. And my theory is like, if Mac Jones was on any other team, I think we're all, this guy is probably the guy. But because he's with Bill Belichick and he slightly resembles a Tom Brady, where he's a smart guy, makes smart decisions. Because the Patriots had a guy like Tom Brady who was supposed to be a nothing quarterback, white, unathletic, and Mac Jones sort of mirrors that. I feel like in our brains, we're going like, oh yeah, maybe he could be the guy. But if you put him on, I don't know, Jacksonville, we're not, I don't think we're saying he's the guy. You put him on the Lions. Well, the Lions are playing well, but I don't know if you say he's the guy. If you put him on the Colts, for example, I don't know if we're going like, yeah, he's the guy. I think we're going, maybe he is. I don't really know at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Because it's just like he fits that Patriots mold kind of. I know what you mean. I don't hate that theory.
So I think that's what we're discussing that. But now for the actual game, how do you make this game? Because the fact it was 2.5 was a little surprising. I was surprised that we didn't get the 3.5 number. We're under 3. How are you breaking this one down? The Ravens just had a shootout in Miami. Where are you at with this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this maybe has to do with location. I don't really know what the New England weather is looking like this weekend. I know right here it's kind of cold and windy. So I mean, maybe in New England it's way colder. I don't know. But I also was surprised. Just 2.5, just with how explosive we saw the Ravens can be just when they played the Dolphins. That just kind of surprised me because I don't see how the New England Patriots offense could possibly keep up with a Ravens offense. So, I mean, I'm definitely leaning Ravens here. I almost think you probably want to grab it before it goes to 3. I don't always like to do that, but I don't see this going to 2. So yeah, I like the Ravens here, and I'm kind of with you. Kind of a little bit surprised by the spread.
I am too. No, it's supposed to be rainy in the 70s on Sunday in Foxborough. But I'm with you too. For a Baltimore Ravens team where Lamar is just balling out at this point, making some crazy throws, you have a Patriots team who's the brain trust of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So they've got maybe a quarter of a brain between the two of them as offensive coordinators. I am surprised that this number didn't go outside 3. I'm taking the Ravens here as well. Because I do think they're just shaping up to do a better team. There are some injuries that could come into play here. But yeah, I just don't like what I've seen from the Patriots at all. They look sluggish out there. Like they opened up their first game.
Nice, very flat.
Very nice first drive opening of the season. And then from there, they've been flat and I just don't know. I don't like it. I'm going to watch the game because I need to watch a little bit more Patriots, but what I've seen, I have not liked. I have zero faith in the offensive brain trust over there. So yeah, I'm going Ravens on this one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's, I should also state before we move any further, nice 9-7 record last week. Beautiful. You know what we're doing? Because the football gods have been so cruel to me. We're just betting the entire board. Every bet I give out on this podcast this week, I'm putting money on it. We're betting the whole board and we're just going for it because we got to try to, the winds came in. You talked about it. We got a nice fall, crisp winds. And it was like, beautiful. It was like in Field of Dreams where he hears from the cornfield, if you build it, they'll come. I heard, if you bet it, you will win. So we're just betting it with the winds here today. Ravens, we're going first one. Then we're going down to Miami. Bills versus the Dolphins. Two of arguably the hottest teams right now in the NFL. Line is set at 5.5. Over under is at 52.5. Do you think we get a shootout, which most people think we're going to get, or do you think this game is going to be relatively close? Or I guess not even relatively close, but a more low scoring affair.
I definitely think you got to assume it's going to be a shootout. I don't know how close of a shootout it is. Basically, I'm saying I think it's going to be very high scoring. I like the Dolphins. They're fun to watch. That game last week was awesome. But until I see a team that can come within 12 points of the Bills, I mean, 5.5, I have to take them. The concern, obviously, Miami plays very well at home. I know playing in Miami is difficult, especially in September. But still, I got to go the Bills here. One little prop that I do like, though, last I saw with Jalen Waddle was 64.5. I'm hammering that over. Tua is gonna have to throw the ball a ton because the Bills are gonna put up minimum 35 points probably. So yeah, I'm going Bills, and then I just like that little play with Jalen Waddle there.
This is going to be an awesome matchup, I think, for the weekend. Yeah. The Bills do have some injury concerns, which I think makes the over attractive here because the style of these two teams play. These two teams, the Bills are not right now a blitz play man team. They've been able to get natural pressure, but Phillips, who we talked about last week, who's just been a monster, and Oliver
scary.
on the defensive line are both, I think, going to be out, or at least trending to be out. So I do think that they're probably going to have to blitz a little bit more to get some pressure here, which I think lines up perfectly for your Waddle bet, because Hyde is out in the secondary, and I think they've also got a couple other guys banged up. And then you flip the side of the ball in Miami. This defense is hysterical. They blitz at a top 5 rate in the NFL, and yet they're getting pressure at a 31st rate in the NFL. It is bad right now. And they play a lot of man. Howard, who's a guy who I sat here last year and banged on the table. You got to pay this guy. You can't let this guy go. Corners are so valuable in today's NFL, but he hasn't been playing to par, I would argue. And so I do think there are going to be a lot of opportunities to take shots here. And also, I do also like the fact Miami right now is passing at the second highest rate on first down. They're being very aggressive. I think I'm going to go an over in this game. I've been terrible with team totals. I've been virtually an automatic fade. I don't think I've hit a team total yet this season, but I think I'm going to stay away from the Miami Dolphins Bills spread. And I think I'm going to go 52.5 over, just because of the way the defenses play aggressively. And I think there are going to be opportunities for some explosive plays to get us over that number. I also love how Miami's making the Bills wear their blue jerseys down in Miami for a hot Sunday game. That will, I'm sure, wear on the defense.
A little mental gymnastics there.
Heck yes. There's another team later that we're going to talk about that's going to be, I'm really buying into the look good, feel good, I think, this week, but we'll get to that. Saints Panthers. I am not excited for this game. -2.5. Saints are the favorite. Over unders 40.5. Matt Rule is a bum. That dude, this team, I was so high on coming on in the season, and I've now watched 2 games in which it just looked like a bunch of bums out there. What do you make of the Steelers-Panthers game going into this week?
So it's funny you say that, because going into this game, I was going to say, Nate, I think we were both wrong on the Panthers. They suck. I mean, they're real bad. And the Saints, the Saints have talent, but it's just there's something missing. It's pretty obvious. It's the quarterback. Jameis, just as you saw last week, he had some Jameis moments.
Dude, it was so funny. I've now done this twice in major spots where I was watching the game with friends, and I literally called out 2 of his picks. Like, when the ball was snapped, I was like, this is going to be a pick. And then there was one other later, I was like, this is going to be a pick. And they were like, what in the fuck? And I did that last year in the Bengals-Raiders game in the bar, and everybody was like, I have witnesses to these claims, but I apparently have a sixth sense when it comes to picks being about to be thrown. Some stupid pick, I should say.
Well, I mean, yeah, and Jameis is doing plenty of them, so we're getting a lot of entertainment there. But I think the Panthers just really suck. And I like Alvin Kamara coming back off an injury here going against this Panthers defense. I like him to make some plays and stuff. So I'll go with the Saints 2.5. I might go under the 40.5 though. If you really made me. I mean, last week, Panthers Giants, I mean, 16-19, just gross. And then
so ugly to watch.
I mean, horrible. And then the Saints put up 10 against the Bucks, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, I'll probably lean under the 40.5.
Dude, Matt Rule right now is 1-25 when allowing 17 or more points in a game, which I don't know if they're going to get to 17 points, but 1-25 is, oh my God.
Holy,
so bad.
That's terrible.
I think he's going to be fielding some calls from Nebraska here very soon about whether or not he wants to come back to the college ranks, because I think his NFL career is wrapping up. Not great for my Panthers over 6.5 wins. Still a long season.
Same here.
But it's not looking great. But we'll see if they can get that going. Chiefs Colts. The line is at 5.5. Over under is at 50.5. Patrick Mahomes has brutally dominated Gus Bradley, who is the defensive coordinator for the Colts. In the 7 times Patrick Mahomes has played against Gus Bradley's defenses, he has 17 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Bradley's defense currently is allowing a 17-2 completion rate to start the season, and that came against David Mills and Trevor Lawrence. So with that being said, do the Colts even have a shot in hell to cover this number at 5.5?
Absolutely not. I have absolutely no clue why it's 5.5. Don't overthink this. This is the Chiefs. The Colts just scored 0 points in Jacksonville. 0. Yeah. Jacksonville. 0. Who, by the way, Jacksonville's probably going to win this shit division. I mean,
those who got that, it was like, I think plus 1,200 at preseason to win the AFC. Whoever bet that, You might as well just cash that right now. Book should just be giving that money right now.
I think so, but what an awful division. But yeah, 5.5. I mean, they didn't even score 5.5 points. So no, the Chiefs. I know they're going into Indy, and it's known as a loud dome. I don't care. I mean, Mahomes, no air, no wind, no nothing, slinging it. Don't overthink it. This is Chiefs. I don't know what's going on.
I barely did any because this was the most don't overthink a game I saw in the entire schedule today. Like when I was going through the spreads earlier this week, I saw that and I like stopped for a moment because I could not believe what my eyes were seeing. It was like, oh, don't overthink this one and just bet it right away. I didn't even have to think about this. Chiefs 5.5 is already locked in. I'm good. Like this is, I still can't believe this isn't above a touchdown. Lions, Vikings. Lions had a 5.5, over under 52.5. Man, did Kirk on prime time. I mean, that Eagles game was rough to watch. Oh. Do you think that the Lions can continue their surprising start to the season? Or do you think the Vikings get to come back here and cover the spread at 5.5?
This one's tough for me. It really is. Because obviously, I might be a little, biased and still hurt from what the Lions did to my team. I mean, they looked really good. Our defense is so bad though. We'll get to that probably next game, actually. Our defense is terrible, but that Lions offense is for real. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he's a stud. He was a 4th round pick. He had 90 catches as a rookie. He's going to grab 100 balls this season. And we saw what DeAndre Swift can do. I like the Lions to cover here, and especially if this thing jumps to 6, then I really like the Lions here. I'm sort of buying in on this Lions team, at least being able to make noise, like kind of being able to hang in with most of the teams in the NFL. I don't know if this is like a playoff team or anything, but it will be really exciting once they get Jameson Williams back. I'm going Lions. I'll take them plus 5.5 here.
Yeah, this Lions team has definitely been, I thought they would be competitive, but not nearly as good as they've been. This is a team that in their first 2 games have put up over 30 points a game, which has been, if I told you last season, going into next year, the Detroit Lions opening the season will score more than 30 points in 2 games back to back, I think everybody would have laughed you off the street. But this team has been, I mean, they've taken on the identity of their coach. They have all this fight into them, and they're going to need it going into a Vikings stadium that is arguably maybe the top home experience in all of the NFL at this point. I mean, Minnesota gets loud. Now, if you're I bet trends kind of better, I've got one stat that you want to bet the Vikings is going to make you feel like, oh yeah, there's a play. I don't necessarily go with all these trends all the time because I think you have to break it down game to game, but Kirk Cousins coming off a loss in his career is 18-9 against the spread. So he's been pretty good off the loss. There are 2 things that make me concerned as a Vikings potential bettor here. The fact that the Vikings have yet to score a touchdown in the second half. So that tells me that they're not making great adjustments in the second half. And that is not a great stat going into a game in which you are going to be in an absolute rock fight. The second is the push that they are failing to get on the defensive line. I do think the Lions offensive line could bully them here a little bit. But with all that said, Detroit Lions love to play a lot of man. I don't think you can really do that successfully against this Minnesota team. I think there's something to prove here. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. I'm going to go Vikings minus 5.5. I'm sure Kirk will screw me, but you know what? Home field advantage. They're going to come back from what was an embarrassing loss on Monday night. We're going Vikes.
I think you already know this because the Vikings are 1-1. You might have already mentioned this before, but Kirk is a perfect 500. His quarterback record, I think he's like 80-81 or something. It's hilarious.
It's absolutely fantastic that Kirk, we get Kirk every Sunday right now. Him and Jameis, I'm just like, you can set your watches to it of just what they're going to produce week in and week out.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about your Washington Commanders. They are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, another very hot team, which we were giving some praise into the season. I think I was definitely hotter on this Eagles team. We'll see if they can continue through the season. It's still a young season, but they come in as a 6.5-point favorite, over unders at 47.5. How are you feeling about this game and the way you were matching up against this Philadelphia Eagles squad, which is presenting a lot of problems defensively and offensively for teams?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, for us, this is a matchup nightmare. I mean, this Eagles team can run all over everyone. And I mean, college teams could probably run all over us. Not really, but like, honestly, teams can run and move the ball on us at ease. So that's a big concern that I have with this team. the Eagles are coming off what has to be the most dominant 24-point performance I think I've ever seen. They didn't need to score in the second half, but that it just in the back of my head, just kind of like reassuring myself going into this matchup. I'm like, they didn't score in the second half. They didn't do anything in the second half. They really only scored 24 points. But still, I kind of like them to cover here. I don't see how we keep up. I do love our offense. I like the over in this game. I think we're going to at least score probably 3 touchdowns ourselves. We can move the ball. We've shown that. But the problem is our offense so far, we just kind of sputter. We'll go through a quarter where it's just like nothing happens. And then the next quarter, we'll score 2 touchdowns. But I just don't see how we can keep up with Hurts and this team right now, other than maybe, they're due to lay a dud. But I'll take the Eagles -6.5.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni is always good for a dud here and there, but I don't know if I've seen enough from the Washington Commanders this season so far to imply that they are going to take a dud. The one thing that does give you hope if you are taking an over ticket, I think, is the matchup with the wide receivers versus the Eagles secondary, which is a good secondary right now. But do not sleep on that Washington wide receiver court because
they're nice. They're good.
Yeah. As long as Kirk can be Kirk, like he's not Kirk. I'm saying Kirk. My goodness. Carson Wentz. As long as Carson Wentz isn't being a moron, which is going to happen every once in a while. If he shows a little of that, wow, there's that arm talent, because he's good for a game where he just kind of slings it and you see why he's been so highly rated, why he stayed in the league so long. And then he'll go right back to throwing some dumb pick where he doesn't see the middle linebacker right in front of him. But if he can sling it a little bit, they've got a shot here at the over too. I'm with you. I think at this point, the Eagles are on my don't bet against them until they prove otherwise, until Nick Sirianni really starts to get in his head, until teams really start to make him adjust. They're sort of, I'm just betting them almost blindly as long as it's not a crazy score. We're within 7. I'd like it below 6, but I'll take them within the 7 points.
Yep.
All righty. Raiders, Titans, lines at 1.5, over under 45.5. The Raiders have been a very aggressive team this season. They are throwing on first down 81.58% of the time. That is almost a 20% jump from last season. McDaniels is already showing his influence on that offense. But this is a team that's going to be fighting against a Titans team that, honestly, I'm surprised got a spread at 1.5. We've been sort of ahead of the curve, I think, on this podcast compared to others about how the Titans were going to fare this season, how the letting go of A.J. Brown was the signal that this team knows internally they're in rebuild mode, while the public didn't seem to be catching on to that. Derrick Henry is slow to come back from what was an injury that we were cautious about. We said if somebody can do it, it would be him, but he's taking a sweet time coming back from that. It is showing where. I'm surprised this line is at 1.5, but it is at 1.5. How do you make this game knowing all that going into this?
I mean, it's definitely a huge game for both teams, especially the Raiders. Just you can't go 0-3 or else you're doomed. We talked about the Titans shit division, so maybe they can go 0-3 and be okay. But just the team itself, though, from what we've seen, they're not okay at all. I mean, Derrick Henry is basically getting blocking equivalent to what Najee Harris is getting, and it's not good. Basically getting contacted right at the line of scrimmage before he really can get going, especially coming off that injury. And like I said, the Raiders, super aggressive team. Last week, I mean, scoring 0 in the fourth quarter and giving up 16, that was a dagger for them. I mean, really a tough loss for them.
I switched that game off on my other TV because I was like, this is over. And then I saw the score and I was like, what in God's name is going on in Arizona?
Just a really, really tough loss for them. But Arizona, well, I don't think they're a great team. They do have some explosive ability. So it happens. So even though Las Vegas is traveling a bit of a distance here, I'm going with them -1.5. It's just this Titans team is poor. I think we're going to be seeing Malik Willis kind of soon, which is exciting. I'd like to see him.
I mean, the problem is in Ryan Tannehill, if he can't play off play action, which he can't do right now, he turns to a well below average quarterback. When he can play off play action, well, then he's a guy that you could make a playoff run and potentially a Super Bowl run with, because he does play well enough that as long as the team around him is good, you can go there. But because he can't play off play action, he is a subpar quarterback. I'm with you. I think at some point you're going to have to roll out the Malik Willis train here. Tyler Lewan, I believe, is declared out for this game. That's going to hurt them on the offensive line. The defense is not, it's been subtle downgrade almost. It seems like the last 3 seasons they've slowly been trending downwards. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the Raiders' ability to be potentially explosive gives them the slight edge here, and I just have zero faith in the Titans at this point in time. It's a full-blown disaster here. So I'm going Raiders -1.5 on this one as well. But God, the AFC South is just what a putrid division. I mean, how does that division year after year just stay terrible?
I mean, I think right now its current state is the worst like I've ever, and we've seen some bad NFC East divisions. This might be the worst constructed division just this season alone I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
All the teams are just bad. I mean, the Colts are way worse than we thought. We came into the season going, they're a good team, but they don't do anything like well. So they're just going to be sort of that like flatline team. But man, have they, I don't even know how you underperform of that expectation. Like your expectation was like, you don't do anything super well. You just do everything kind of good so you can be competitive. And they have completely bombed that expectation. I don't even know how that's possible.
I mean, every team that is going to be competing wildcard weekend is praying they are being hosted by the AFC South division winner.
We should take their playoff spot. The AFC West is too damn good to give a playoff spot to the AFC South. That is ridiculous.
It really is.
Oh my God. All right. I'll probably just send you another invite since we got 3 minutes here.
All right, that's cool. Yeah.
That's a good landing spot to cut right there.
I agree.
All right, back.
All right.
And picking up on the terrible AFC South, we move on to the Texans and Bears. Line is at 2.5. Over under is 39.5. I honestly don't even know where to begin on this game. Would you want to start on this one? I mean,
we had the Saints Panthers game, and then we go about 4 or 5 games later, and we have this game. Oh, this is worse. This is the worst game on the docket, without a doubt. I don't know how much more I'm talking this. I'm leaning Bears -2.5.
Same.
If this thing goes to 3, I think everyone in the world's going to push.
Yep. I'm with you. I think this could be short and sweet. Well, the Texans they have the ability to be competitive for a while. We saw it last week against a Broncos team who had nothing going for them offensively. The Texans still struggled. The Bears, Justin Fields, I'll take them at 2.5. If they can't win this game at home, I mean, the Bears are in for a rough season anyway, but hold on to your butts because things could get real ugly. We'll say
Panic City. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Bengals, Jets. Line is at 6.5. And have I been excited to talk about the good old Cincinnati Bengals. This team, we have been, I feel like, way ahead of the curve on the Zach Taylor is an absolute nightmare. To encapsulate that all for you people. Right now, the Bengals are the only team in the NFL to have not held a lead at any single point during a game. Only team in the NFL. This team's success rate on first and second down ranks dead last for run success rate on first and second down, which I guess is good. The fact that Zach Taylor is throwing more on first down compared to last year, but still can't run the ball. Super predictable. He's a atrocious offensive play caller. But this could be a look good, feel good spot. Now I'm going to trust a random stranger on the internet because, when random strangers put things on the internet, they are always true. But according to hard-hitting analysis here by Seth R94, seems good. He's got a cross in his name, so he's probably speaking the good Lord's work. The Bengals don't have a Zach Taylor problem. They have a jersey problem because in their alternative orange jerseys, they're 3-0. Their away jerseys, they're 8-3, and their home black jerseys 2-7. I'm guessing this includes last year. So they are breaking out for the first time the all-white jerseys. They have the all-white helmets. Look good, feel good going into the New York Jets, who have been, I think, another sort of surprise this season with how I don't want to say extremely well they played, but better than expectation coming into the season. What do you make of the 6, not even 6.5, pure 6 line for the Bengals Jets?
It's tough. I mean, just from what we've seen so far this year, I mean, the Jets had a ridiculous comeback last week. Just something that came out of nowhere that we never saw. And the Bengals, Bengals are just disappointing everyone. Joe Burrow is just getting annihilated. He's pretty much gotten annihilated every year of his career so far. Last year, not too bad, but they rebuilt that line, but he's still getting killed behind the line. So that's not good. I do think
I have a stat on that one. Since 2001, Joe Burrow has been sacked 83 times. The next closest is Carr and Baker at 49.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That is insane. That's a recipe for disaster. He had the injury his rookie year. We pray it doesn't happen, anything doesn't happen again, but he's just getting killed. I do think Dallas, I think that defense and their pass rush is really good. So, he's not going to be facing that every week. I'm really struggling with this game. I'm leaning, God, dude, I don't know.
It's a tough one.
It's really tough. I'd probably go Bengals just because I'm just not sold on the Jets yet, and I'm not ready for the Bengals. Obviously, they can still win, but I'm not ready for them to go 0-3. If they go 0-3, it just kind of sucks. It just really just throws them out entirely in the AFC. So I'll go with the Bengals here. It's going to be close. It might be a push opportunity. It's tough though.
It is very tough. I think at some point I haven't completely hit the Bengals panic button. I've been slamming that thing. It's destroyed on Zach Taylor's ability to call a cohesive offensive game. And I honestly don't know. And I will say this, I don't know if Zach Taylor's a good head coach, but what I do know is he's a trash head / offensive coordinator coach. There are maybe I can count them on my one hand, head coaches in the NFL that can take both play calling duty and head coaching duty. Zach Taylor is not one of them. He needs to give it up. He needs to get out of it because the small details are being missed with this team. And that is what the head coach is supposed to be doing, because you are not, I know he wants to be like a Sean McVay or an Andy Reid, but you're not. You can't do both. And the small details are slipping. Going to this season, the Bengals talked all about how they have to be methodical this year, how these teams are going to give them two eye safety looks, how the offensive line is brand new. And they have done nothing through 2 games would suggest that they prepared for that change. It doesn't look like they prepare themselves to be a methodical offense like the Chiefs are switching up to be this season. Yeah. They don't look like they've got the offensive line completely prepared. Now, I'm not slashing the alarm bell on that because we do know when you replace a bunch of people on the offensive line, it generally takes a couple of weeks in the NFL to get that offensive line as a cohesive unit. But it hasn't looked pretty. They can't run the ball. He just needs to hand it over to Callahan and focus on the small details and larger picture. He can't be in the minute offensive strategy game. He just can't do it. The sail has shipped on that. Last year, They exceeded his incompetence to make it to the Super Bowl, which we were very hot on this podcast. That's why you listen to us. But you are also facing a Jets team that I am wondering. So I went back. I watched both Jets games this season. I have been pleasantly surprised at how well Joe Flacco has looked at his age.
Yeah.
But I am wondering at what point does that arm fall off his shoulder? Because through 2 games, he's thrown 103 passes. Last season, he threw a total of 42. The year before that was 134. He's almost got, through 2 games, more pass attempts than he had the last 2 seasons. The man is not a spry chicken here, folks. At some point, that arm is going to start to feel the wear and tear on it. But he has looked pretty good. They've done a good job of using pre-snap motion to help him out. I like what they're doing. They've been competitive, but I don't want to take the Bengals 6, but I almost feel like this is a game. You got the white helmets on. You're looking fly. Everybody's been talking shit. I feel like the Bengals have to come out and have a big game here. And last year they handled their business with the New York Jets. I don't know if I feel great taking the Jets, but I also would not be surprised if the Jets cover this number or win, to be honest.
I wouldn't be shocked. No, me neither. Garrett Wilson is a beast.
Monster.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be surprising if he comes from wide receiver U in Ohio State. I said this on the college show last year. Whoever I can't think of his name. I know who he is. The wide receiver coach at Ohio State should be paid more than the head coach at this point. You guys need to do whatever it takes to keep him, because year after year, that wide receiving core is just filthy.
Yep. It's ridiculous.
All right. This is a number that has moved greatly due to the speculation of injuries. Jacksonville Chargers. I'm going to say right now, if you got Jacksonville at +7.5, which it was earlier this week, give yourself a round of applause, because it has dropped to 3.5. Vegas seems to know that Justin Herbert is not going to be playing, even though it has not been confirmed. He is listed as doubtful. He has not practiced, though, to this point. Chargers are at home, which is not much of a home field advantage at all.
No.
Lines at 3.5. They are favored over under 42.5. Can Jacksonville, one, cover this number, but two, can they win this game if we get the Chase Daniels show?
If we get
if we get a banged up Justin Herbert.
The way Herbert looked, I mean, it looked like, I mean, I thought he was gonna like just like fall over and like pass out on the field, but then he also he just slings it to DeAndre Carter like 37 yards, like with just like he can't even breathe. But the way he looked, I think it might be best to just sit Justin Herbert this week. Honestly, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it looked bad, man. But it's tough to pick here. Like, can Jacksonville, fly across the country and cover this? I think they could. I like their weapons on offense. They do seem, Doug Peterson does seem to be getting those wide receivers open on like some kind of short, quick hitter type routes. But yeah, without Justin Herbert, I probably would go Jacksonville. I think it's going to be very interesting because Chase Daniel has made a killing in this league in terms of being a backup quarterback and making like $30 million. And really, we've seen him play a couple times. We really haven't seen him play. So I'd love to see him play, just to see, this $30 million backup, like how much he's really been, not to be disrespectful, but stealing from the NFL.
Correct. It is. It's something like he's made $220,000 for just like every snap he's taken or something. Like, it's just ridiculous. He's got like $1 million per touchdown he's thrown or something like that.
It's insane.
Stupid. But I love Chase Daniels because he gave us that college football year where Mizzou played Kansas and it was like 4-2, and the world was just like, what is happening in college football? Because that, for people who are younger, at one point in time, Missouri and Kansas were both in the top 5 and played each other in a championship game. Not a national championship game, or a conference championship game. Wild times. Keith Talib was on that team for the Kansas Jayhawks. My God. Brain is fried on the Friday. You answered the question I was going to ask. The NFL doesn't really do this, but honestly, I would almost treat this as a rest week if I'm the Chargers. You have a good product. You have guys banged up left and right. That injury report is rough to look at right now. A lot of doubtfuls. I would just sit them this week. One, I wouldn't want that doctor who punctured Tyrone Taylor's lung anywhere near Justin Herbert, because Justin Herbert's going to have to get shot up, and it's the same doctor on the team, last I heard. And two, Jacksonville's flying across the country. They have been definitely more competent this season, which isn't hard to do given the Urban show last year. But yeah, I think this is a game where you just kind of throw it away. And I know in the NFL, it's kind of sacrilege to be like, if you take the loss, you take the loss. But I don't think it's worth risking the rest of the season to roll out Justin Herbert, or even like Keenan Allen, who's dealing with a hamstring, or like guys that are dealing with issues. I would just rest them this week and give them the weekend off, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah. And, quick little thing, not to sound effed up or anything, but, the best thing that doctor did was puncture Tyrod Taylor's lung. He put Justin Herbert in, and we're like, holy shit, this guy's unreal.
Dude's unreal. And the Chargers are going to have a special place in my heart for covering that game against the Chiefs, when they could have just thrown it in. Justin Herbert is the man. I will love that man till the day I die. Not a poor thing will ever be said about him for that betting win.
Nope.
One other thing I am interested in, we don't really talk about this a ton on this show, but the team total. I am thinking about maybe taking under 23.5 for Chargers team total under, if we're going to get the Chase Daniels show. I think it's going to be a lot of running, slugfest in the mud. I'm interested in that line right there.
Yeah, that would definitely be calling out to me. I like that.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about another kind of low-key surprise, I think, in how competitive they've been, because we really, or at least I, trashed them in the preseason divisional breakdowns. The Atlanta Falcons have been a very competitive football team. They are a +1 underdog against the Seahawks, traveling to Seattle, over under 41.5. I kind of like them to win in this spot. The juice is better. It's not plus money, but I like the Falcons to get a win here in Seattle for a team that had a fun first game, but outside of that, did not look great in week 2.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're right. Seattle had a fun first emotional game. And And we're both I think are Geno Smith guys, but we have seen it before where Geno comes in, he gets hot, he flashes a little bit, but we haven't really seen long-term success from him unfortunately. I don't think we're gonna get it this season, unfortunately for Geno. And yeah, you're right. The Falcons, they can go in, they can compete. They're definitely surprising. They're not a playoff team, but they're a team that you kind of don't really want to face. So yeah, I like them to go all the way up to Seattle and probably get a win there.
Yeah, and I meant to look into this. I forgot to do it, but I'm assuming they stayed out on the West Coast given they played the Rams last week. And so I'm assuming they stayed out there. Not a huge travel for them. If they did, I would like I said, I'm assuming they stayed out there. Because I'm not losing my mind. They did play the Rams. Yeah.
They played the Rams. Yeah.
I was like, shit. That's right.
Yeah. 100%, yeah.
So I'm assuming they stayed out there. Maybe not. Maybe they came back to the East Coast and traveling out. That would seem very dumb to me. But yeah, there's not a lot going on here. This team has played competitive. Mariota's looked about like Mariota looks at this age and this point of his career. It's been a fine product. Drake London, I was a big fan of when they drafted him. He's playing really well. So yeah, I like this team. They look like a more cohesive unit right now than the Seahawks look. The Seahawks look a little disheveled game to game last week.
Yeah.
Packers Bucks, when they scheduled this game, man, did this look like it was going to be the cream of the crop. But injuries might be raining on this parade. The line is down to 1.5. Bucks are still favored. Over under 41.5. And I've got to tell you, I am worried about this game, but I said going into the season, the first 4 games, I don't care about wins, losses. I care about getting out of games healthy. We have not been getting out of games healthy, unfortunately. This is going to be a tough one. This is a team. The Bucks are getting a lot of flack, and I think it's due to people just not thinking of it contextually. The Bucks have not been as aggressive on offense. People are ripping the offense for being not super aggressive, but I mean, we can just see it in the pass rate on first down, which I think is indicative to your team's aggressiveness. Last year, they threw on first down at a 67% rate. They're down to 54%. But when you think about it, it makes sense. The wide receiver core has been super banged up. The offensive line's been super banged up. There's not a lot of pieces right now there. So how can you be super aggressive in the pass game? I don't think that's so much Todd Bowles kind of making the offense less aggressive. I think that's just being less aggressive due to the nature of the injury report. Which gives me some fear for the Packers. But then I remember the Packers are also dealing with their own injuries and the fact that they have no real offensive threat. They did put up a good game against the Bears, but that is the Bears. The Bucs defense is a different animal. How do you feel about this game coming into this?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a shame with injuries and just the fact that Aaron Rodgers has nobody to throw the ball to, and Tom Brady this week's going to have no one to throw the ball to. And the Packers, they're coming off that dominating performance, but they're the Bears. We all know Rodgers owns the Bears. Aaron Jones was just he was averaging like 11 yards per carry. I mean, it was ridiculous. That's not going to happen against Tampa Bay. I just think going down to Tampa Bay, 1.5. I got to stick with the Bucs here. I like them probably starting off 3-0. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a heavy Aaron Jones, heavy AJ Dillon game for the Packers. But I just think Tom will find a way to just come out with a win. Plus with that defense, the defense is nasty. So, and the Packers have a solid defense too. But that Bucs defense, I know they played Jameis, but they're sick.
Yeah, the secondary especially has come up, which is scary because they were good last year, but leaps and bounds, in my opinion. Watching those 2 games, it has been apparent to me that unit the chemistry is there this season. The communication is there, which has always been a problem with the Bucs secondary, the communication factor and guys just missing out on assignments. That has seemed to improve greatly here this season. And then you pair that with, it does suck that Akeem Hicks is down. I'd love to see him paired up with Villa down there, but he'll be back later in the season. But I do think this is just the Bucs will defensively outmatches the Packers here, and Brady will find a way to get a field goal at the end of the game and win this game. Super close. Don't love it. Probably wouldn't bet it if I wasn't betting every game on the board, but we're betting every game on the board this week. So 1.5, it is the Bucs. Rams Cardinals. God, the Cardinals are bad, but they got themselves an electric win last week. The Rams come to town, another team that has been way underperforming. The line's at 3.5. Cardinals are the underdogs here in their own building, over under 48.5. What do you think of this game? Because initially when I saw it, I said Cardinals easy money. But the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know. Maybe the Rams can turn it on. The Stars can come out. But I'm concerned about the depth pieces for the Rams and the Cardinals' explosiveness ability to show up in key spots.
Yeah, I am a little bit too. I mean, we both know the NFC compared to the AFC. Oh my God, what a difference! The Rams have seemed like, it's still very early, but it almost seems like maybe they've taken a small step back in the NFC.
100%.
Yeah, I still think they're
agree with that.
Capable of being a playoff team, but they're just taking a small step back, at least this start of the season. You give me the hook here, I'm kind of with you. I like the Cardinals. I don't say that with a ton of confidence because I don't really like them as a team. They can't really run the ball very well. I do like maybe looking at maybe a Marquise Hollywood Brown over 55.5. I think Kyler. Yeah, I think Kyler's just going to be scrambling around a lot and just slinging the ball because I do think it has the potential to be somewhat of a shootout. So I don't love it, but if you give me this hook here, I'll probably take the Cardinals. But I don't like it.
It is, yeah, it's tough. I don't love this game. This is another game where I'm like, if I wasn't betting the entire board, I probably wouldn't bet this. But I'm going to go the Cardinals here. I don't have a lot of faith in the Rams right now. That's a trust they'll come around, but verify it first. I'm not willing to put my money on them just yet. The explosiveness of the Cardinals, as well as they are better the first half of the season, I do like that there. That's a good spot. Let's talk about the 49ers Broncos. This line was slightly surprising given how bad the Broncos have been offensively. The line's at 1.5. 49ers come in as the favorite to Mile High Stadium. Over unders at 43.5. How do you make this game?
I don't like this game. This game sucks. I'm actually kind of disappointed in the NFL's two primetime, two night games we got going this weekend. I think I'd almost take any of those 4:00 games in here. I understand the angle. It's Russell Wilson going against his former biggest rival, the San Francisco 49ers. So I get the angle that they're pulling here, but it's just, to me, these are two boring teams. San Francisco, I think, is a good team, but they're boring. And Denver so far has been just very boring and kind of disappointing, I'd say. And poor Jerry Jeudy, he cannot stay healthy. And I think he is such a talent, dude. And we saw it in week 1, when he gets the ball, he's electric. He's powerful. He's a beast. But yeah, that's just a shame that he can't get healthy. I'm leaning Niners here, -1.5. Jimmy G, he's just a winner, and obviously Russell Wilson's a winner too. But I'm going with Jimmy. He's a regular season, and he's even a playoff winner too. But he's a regular season winner. The Niners just win with him behind center, so I'll take the Niners 1.5.
Dude, it's crazy. I talked about this. I posted a clip earlier on social about this. Like, the difference when Kyle Shanahan has Jimmy G under center versus other quarterbacks is just insanity. I mean, he is just a winner. They just win football games. It's not pretty, but they just win football games. And I think the thing that we have to also remember with this is Russ has been struggling against defenses that are not going to put up as much of a fight as the 49ers defense is going to put up in this game. The 49ers defense has looked good, especially last week, I thought. I have very big concerns from Nathaniel Hackett and Russ right now. It doesn't look like a lot of smart decisions are being made. Russ seems to be struggling with the new concepts and the new offense. There are injury concerns there. I just think the 49ers win an ugly game here. And at 1.5, I'm going to take that because I think it's a field goal or more for the 49ers. And Jimmy G is just whatever you want to say with him. It's not pretty, but he wins football games. Just wins football games with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. He just understands the system and where to go with the ball.
Yeah, I'm agree. I totally agree with that.
Last game of the week to wrap us up. Dallas versus the New York Giants. Monday night. Line is set at +1 for the Cowboys. They are the away team. I don't know why I phrased it like that. Over under is 39.5. Danny Dimes versus Cooper.
Oh, man.
Just the matchup you wanted. You know, it's bad for Zach Taylor because he's going to catch a fly here. It's not a good look when Mike McCarthy outcoaches you.
Oh, yeah.
If you get outcoached by Mike McCarthy, you should turn in your coaching card at this point in time. That man's an idiot. So we got Brian Daboll, the better coach, clearly, but the less talented team, going against the worst coach, but a more talented team. Starting quarterbacks are iffy.
Yeah.
Who wins this game?
God, who knows? That's tough to say because I am kind of somewhat, and I was last year too, somewhat of a believer in this Dallas defense, especially the front seven, mainly Micah Parsons.
Oh, God, a monster.
He's just such a monster, and I honestly think he can cause enough havoc, especially with Danny Dimes, that where he can make a massive impact on this game. So I'm actually leaning Dallas and Cooper Rush to go up in there and win the game. I mean, I'm +1 now. Let's just take the money line, obviously here. So yeah, I'm leaning with Dallas. I just think with Danny Dimes, like I said, Parsons he's a game wrecker. He just annihilates other teams, and just I think Jones is just like he's just salivating over that.
Yeah, I mean the Giants have gotten 2 wins over 2 teams that defensively have just been subpar. And to your point, Micah Parsons is an absolute game record. The dude is an X factor. Like we see it every once in a while. We've seen it with Aaron Donald. We saw it with Von Miller when he was dominating. There are these guys that when they step on the field, JJ Watt back in the day when he was at his full prime, what TJ Watt's doing with the Steelers.
I'd say Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Myles Garrett, another big one up there. Micah Parsons is right in there with that group. Yeah. The man is a freak. So I'm with you. I'm going to ride with you on that one. I'll take the Cowboys straight up to win that game. I think the Giants, we've gotten a little overinflated because they are starting off 2-0. The season, they weren't predicted to do very well. Brian Dable is I think going to be a great head coach, but the pieces are just not there yet. I'll ride the Cowboys with you to finish out the week. We'll go Cowboys money line on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Cowboys here. I'm actually rooting for the Giants. I'd rather them go 3-0 and just keep Dallas losing while Dak is gone. And then I think the Giants will just implode. I can't take them even at 3-0. I won't take them serious. So I'm rooting for Giants, but I think Dallas goes in there and wins.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the under on the Dallas ticket at 10.5, but they can win the Giants game. They've still got a lot of games on their schedule they're going to lose later this season. So
yeah.
All righty, that'll do it for week 3. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Not really. Just in terms of like, for those of you like in survivor pools, this is a tough weekend. There's just so many close games. I'd say really your only guarantees are like Chiefs and Eagles maybe, and Bills might not even be a guarantee, but Chiefs and Eagles really like your only guarantees. Like it's just a wild week for survivor pools.
And that's tough too, because do you want to use those teams
this
early in the season? Like if you use the Browns on Thursday night, round of applause to you. That was a good move because that's another team that and even when Deshaun comes back, I think it's going to be a long time before he looks right on the field. Because we've seen those clips of training camp. He doesn't look like he can throw a ball 10 yards at this point.
No.
It's been a while, but yeah, I'm with you. This is a brutal week for survivor pool. Whew.
Yeah.
Tough. Good point. Well, that'll do it for week 3. We'll be back next week. Happy betting to everybody. And as always, peace.